Still want that. You want dad or mom to be able to come in and talk to everybody. People love that. They love the idea of them continuing to come in. It feels like a family business. It
Yeah.
continues to be a family business. All of a sudden, there's three generations walking around the building at the same time
Yeah.
because your
Yeah,
kids are there.
exactly.
That's warm. It gives everybody a warm and fuzzy. Being able, though, to pass the baton in decision making, and that needs to be a well thought out plan.
Hey guys, Happy New Year! And we have got an amazing topic today that I can't wait to share. Orrin, how you doing today?
Great. How are you, Neil? Happy New Year.
Hey, so today's show is probably going to be my favorite, I feel, and it's because it's about passing the business on creatively to your children. That's exciting because that's what it's all about.
It is. It's so many things. So when you sell a business, you prepare, just like we've talked about, you prepare your business to sell, and someone else takes it over, and you have an intermediary taking care of everything. When you're passing it on to your children, and that could be one,
Hmm.
two, three, who knows how
Yeah,
many children you have, it's a whole different animal because how do they afford it? Are they
yeah,
right for it? Who gets what positions and how's the decision making going? There's so
yeah,
many factors that go into how that succession plan works within the family. And how do you not have hurt feelings and things like that? And just so much planning
yeah,
that has to go into
yeah,
it, both
yeah,
legally, financially, emotionally, as
yeah.
to how this whole thing will work. It's crazy how that can be. It's a great topic.
And
It's a great
yeah, as I've
topic to
been
have.
navigating this landscape for many years now, I've seen so many wonderful examples of legacy businesses being handed over. But unfortunately, I've also seen the opposite side. I've seen some go south after they transition out because the kids just couldn't do it. They just didn't have the same passion as their parents. And then what about the people that don't have the children to pass it on to, who might not be interested in the business? So,
All of those factors come into play. And unfortunately, second, third generation success stories
yeah.
are far fewer than otherwise.
Hmm.
Because and so there's different ways of looking at it. I love the idea, and you'll see a lot of the success stories where the
Yeah.
children actually went out and worked someplace else. If they went to school, they went and worked for somebody else out of school. Didn't want to work for mom and dad,
Mhm.
wanted to do something different, completely different. And they go someplace, and I love this idea. Go out, kick the tires, learn, check out the cultures, get a work ethic to be able to come back to mom and dad and come
Yeah.
back to the business and
And
bring
that's happened
those
too. Yeah.
new ideas back. You'll see
Yeah.
more success stories where they've left the family business
Yeah.
out of school and come back to it later after a few years and use a lot of what they learned to
Yeah.
build on the success of their folks and build on the
Yeah.
success of the business. I
I
believe
love that.
that's a great way of doing it and a
Hmm.
great way of bringing new ideas and concepts, technology, looking at the business differently than how it's been looked at for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to do it. And the other piece is when you come back in to a title that's
Hmm.
usually going to be earned because of your prior working. When you graduate from college and all of a sudden you come in and you're sales, you know, vice president of sales, well, what have you done to earn that?
Right.
How
Yeah.
are people going to trust you, respect you? It's not just juniors going to take over. It's,
Hmm.
yeah, he worked at LinkedIn for 6 years and was selling and was doing this, or he worked at this company or that company. And
Yeah.
he's bringing some of those successes over to us to help
Yeah.
build our business. You're looked at differently coming in at 3 or 4 or 5 years later than graduating and immediately coming in with a title or with
Yeah.
authority,
Yeah.
which is another topic we could talk about because I
There's
think,
so many spidering topics that can come out of this. But hey, a good example of I just actually heard it on the Bob Tulio podcast a month or so ago. It was the Sheehan brothers.
yes,
The boys left home and went and worked in other industries,
there it is.
and then came back to help out the family business, and then they took over, and now they are on a mission. And I remember on the podcast that Patrick was talking about a lot of the skills he had learnt over, I think it was managing a logistics company or something. I forget what it actually was, but that's acquired skill set he learnt outside the business came back in. So that's a
I know
great way to do
somebody
it.
who sold his business. His son worked for Uber as a
Mhm.
salesperson and was killing it. They're one of their top salespeople for Uber. And he really wanted him to come back. It was either going to be, I'm selling my business or my son's going to come in and keep it going, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he would never push his son one direction or the other. His son ultimately decided to stay with Uber, not, and he
yeah,
sold his business and was very
yeah,
successful in his sale. But
yeah,
the point of the matter is, he loved the idea of his son going out, and he loved the idea of his son coming back in after everything he learned from them and applying it to his business. And I think it's just I didn't hear that one about Sheehan Brothers. I'm going to go back and listen to it now,
yeah.
but
Good one.
it's it. I think the piece that if you graduate and you immediately come in and you're given a title,
Mhm.
it's more than respect. It's
Yeah,
understanding you've got to do every job. To be an owner, most successful owners have done every job.
yeah,
They've filled orders, they've filled machines, they've stocked the warehouse, they've swept the warehouse, they've loaded trucks, they've done everything there is along the way, including talking to clients. You have to learn all of those pieces. And so there's an education that has to get started when your kids come into the business. I know we're talking about how to sell or how to pass on the business to your kids, but the success of this all starts
yeah.
at kind of what we talked about all over and over and over. Your business is for sale from the first day. Well, your
That's
kids
it.
taking over or your kids eventually taking over starts also way back. It starts when they're coming in and they're stealing candy bars off the shelves because they can, because dad owned or mom owns the business. But
Mhm.
there's an education, and not everybody who operates are good owners and or good
Yeah,
leaders.
yeah,
The other thing is some of us, mom and dad, they might have built a great business. That doesn't mean they're great leaders either. And as times change and the way business and culture changes are, it's good to bring in other people to learn it. And if they're only going to do what mom and dad did, um, that can be good and bad both.
right. Exactly. You just made a point earlier about keeping the business going. And what kind of popped into mind was not going,
Yep.
thriving, right?
Well,
How do they come in and take it on a
and,
new trajectory?
and do they really want to do it? Or do
Mm,
they want to do it? And it's funny because when my father-in-law, he used to get down and dirty and everything, and as he got older, my kids only knew him in one role, and that was an executive type role. They didn't
yes.
see him all of those days climbing up on roofs and climbing ladders into machineries and things like that.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that all happened. Kids think I just want to be dad. I want to come in at 10 and leave at
yeah,
3 because he's got people now as kids running it. That's what I want to
yep,
do. Well, that's not how
yeah,
you're going to build a successful convenience service business. You have to be hands
right.
on, you have to be there, and you have to
Yeah,
pay attention. And that's where the second and third generations start slipping. They want the
yeah,
big car, they want the nice car. Dad's worked 30, 40, 50 years, or moms have worked 30, 40,
yeah,
50 years to be able to live like that. You have to earn your
yeah,
way.
yeah,
And just handing the keys over isn't the always the right way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And it,
actually funny that we're talking about this subject right now. All of a sudden, store memories are coming up, and as I've travelled around the country calling on operators, I would see older people, older gentlemen out kind of walking around the building or in the lobby, and I would say to the guys, who are maybe in their 50s, "Oh, who's that guy walking around?" And that was Dad.
yeah,
He still wanted to come into the building every day because this is what they've been doing their entire life.
I've seen
So,
people who sold their business and open it back up and have people run it just so they have a place to go and hang their hat. I always say they need a place to
yeah,
hang their hat, and you have to
yeah,
welcome that. But there's
yeah.
some pitfalls to that too,
Oh,
because
definitely.
eventually the kids, if you want the kids to grow the business and continue the business, they have to be able to make decisions, and you have to
Yeah.
trust that
Hmm.
they're going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. You have to give them the leniency to make those mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and just be there as a sounding board. That's really tough after making those decisions for 30 to 50
Yeah.
years to be able to hand that off to somebody. And you see that you know they're going to make those mistakes
Yeah.
and allowing them to
Definitely.
do it and grow from it. And that's a
Yep.
piece that, but you still want that. You want dad or mom to be able to come in and talk to everybody. People love that. They love the idea of them continuing to come in. It feels like a family business. It
Yeah.
continues to be a family business. All of a sudden, there's three generations walking around the building at the same time
Yeah.
because your
Yeah.
kids are there.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, that's warm. It gives everybody a warm and fuzzy. Being
Totally.
able, though, to pass the baton in decision making, and that needs to be a well thought out plan. That needs to
Yeah.
be every 90 or 180 days, I'm going to be passing something on to somebody. And it's
Yeah.
not just one child. If you have two children and they both really want to be in the business,
Yeah.
who's president? Who's not president? Who's the forward leader to an
Yeah.
extent compared to the others? She and brothers, there's three of them. They have divided responsibilities and they've
Yeah.
been making that work, right?
Definitely
Um,
successful. Yep.
it might be the oldest isn't the best one. And
Yep.
how do you start talking through that? And how do
Yeah.
you go about that? Those are the things that you want to make sure you're talking about all of this early on. When the decision is over the next 5 years, I'm going to step out and people are stepping in. Let's have a conversation about, Sally, what do you want to do in the business? And what do you see your role as? And Johnny, what do you see your role as? And see if they have a self awareness of what they're best at. And the hope is they do.
Yeah.
And if they don't,
Yeah.
then you might have to have one of those come to Jesus moments with each of them and say,
Yes.
okay, so here's my take, and I hope you prove me wrong, but you have to work together. And in
Yeah.
your brother and sister, your brother and brother, your sister and sister, right? Or whatever,
Yeah.
you have to make that work. Talk early,
Yeah.
talk often, document processes. We've talked about these, right? It comes back to
Yeah.
documenting processes.
Yep.
It comes back to understanding financials, being transparent, and how do they see the future? Hopefully they
Yeah.
did go, I'm going to say this. Hopefully they did go out other places, learn things, bring it back in, and they're going to both have their own specialties to be able to
Yeah.
not only make it exist, but thrive and continue.
Thrive.
And
Yep.
and hopefully then they can use that experience for a third generation or a fourth
Yeah.
generation in a
Exactly.
success
Bring
mode.
some new ideas to the table, right? And take, the legacy that dad and mum built and then build off it. Hey, so let's get into some of the techniques about transferring from one generation to the next. But the first thing is, right, it's what we've been preaching, what you've been preaching here ever since we started the show, is running the business right from day one with an exit mindset. So that's still the case, right?
100%.
That, yep,
Absolutely. It
yep,
when you start the business, your kids, you don't know if your kids want to be in it. They might not want to be in the business, and you shouldn't force them to be in the business. Once they decide, Dad, I'm going to come back and work, and I really one day would love to take this over. I see this as my lifetime journey, not only continuing what you did, but building on it. Wonderful.
yeah,
Let's start putting the plan into place.
hmm
And how does that look? And how are we going to go about doing it? And that's when you get into all this documenting and technologies and putting a plan of, I hope to work until I'm 60, 65, 67, 70. Who knows? He might be older. We don't
yep,
know. But what's that look like as far as who's going to make decisions until that point? How are we going to, do I take over sales? Does she take over operations? Who's going to do finance? Who's going to make sure that we're hitting budget numbers? And you really talk about who's best suited for each of those, and they carry the weight. And you gradually, as you go, there's another piece to it. You built a business, and we're in relationships. We're a relationship business. Dad might have all the relationships from the country club, or mom has all the relationships from the legal association because she was a lawyer and she knows all the. You have to start creating the relationships with your kids, no different than having account managers get relationships with your clients so that you don't need to be sitting in that corner office like we talked before. The relationships continue no matter who's sitting there. And so a piece of it is, don't forget, let them start building those relationships. They'll be bringing in business, they'll be bringing in friends and other relatives, but build the
yep,
relationships with the kids. And how do you go about doing that? It's
yeah,
really a roadmap that needs to be laid out, because you can't just flip a switch and say, I'm retiring in 2 months. It's on you. Because
take
that's
it
when it's
on,
gonna,
yeah,
and that's it, that it's not a success mode.
yeah, yeah. So what are some of the techniques? And I guess it depends on what do the parents want as well, right? Because they could continue just to pull a paycheck, step away, and rather than a big lump sum, they're just pulling a paycheck. Is what are the different techniques to move your kids in and you slowly out?
Well, there's a lot that goes into that question. And have
hmm
are they financially set where they've done well enough over their years that the money, a monthly paycheck, an annual paycheck, really isn't needed? Okay, that's one approach. They're going to need money to live off of, because that basically is their annuity, right?
Yeah,
That's their pension. And so
yeah,
how does that look like? What does cash flow look like? Are you have you built the company to where cash flow can sustain paying mom or dad as you move forward and take that over? Ownership that you could pass on as you go. There's exemptions, you can give $15 million per person away, exempt, right? I mean, from everything, that the new law that was just recently passed. So you could start giving money away to the kids. You give pieces of the business away to the kids as you go. There's ways
hmm
of doing that to bypass the tax structure. There's
hmm
putting your business in a trust so it doesn't have to go through probate. You don't want to put a business through probate.
yeah,
So
right,
talk to
definitely.
your accountant, talk to your tax advisor. I see a lot of the businesses are in the trust. And, it could be the Swindale irrevocable trust, right? Where the
Yeah, the
kids, it
Swindale
just,
Media
that's it.
Irrevocable Trust.
There it is, right? So now it just
Yep.
carries on, and they run it accordingly, and they become the
Mm-hmm.
trustees of the trust, and it just continues on. There's ways. You're not an accountant, I'm not an accountant. Talk to
No.
your tax advisor and find out. But is there a buy sell agreement where you're going to pay me off over time? Normally, Dad's carrying the note,
Right.
mom's carrying the note,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
It's not just going, you're, you're not going to the bank. They're carrying the note typically. Do
Yeah.
you have the cash flow to afford that? And if you don't, how do you adjust?
Yeah.
Maybe you take a little bit less. Think about when you start out as an owner, every single penny just about is put back into the business, and you're not really taking money out of the business.
Right.
Do you have
Totally.
to change the car you're driving, your salary, and adjust it so that you can, out of cash flow, pay mom and dad as you move forward, cut some of the
Hmm.
perks for yourself, and if you have a great year, well, then it's bonus time.
Right.
And that's how you have to change how you run your business. There's so many different ways of doing it, and it all depends on how successful the business has been, how successful mom and dad have been, and
Yeah.
what do they need the money. They might need every penny of a sale right up front in order to be able to live.
Yeah.
And then can the kids afford it? And maybe
Hmm.
not. Maybe the answer is no, they can't. As much as you'd like to go second generation and third generation, and then you sell to somebody and you look for if you've done your job and trained people up, your kids up properly, they're an asset to whoever you're selling the business to, and they'll
Yeah.
get an employment contract for a period of time.
Yep. Yep. And you've seen examples of all these different scenarios over the years.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've seen it where
Yeah.
they want their children to do it, but they need the money and the kids can't afford it.
Yeah.
And normally, I hate to say this is going to sound terrible. They haven't really done a great job running it the way we've suggested they run it all of the
Yeah.
time in order
Hmm.
to make it to a point where it's able to be sustained that way. And
Yeah.
you see a lot of times where the kids have to go work for somebody and they have to adjust their mindset. And when you go to work for somebody, you have to adjust your mindset anyways, right? You might not have the
Yeah.
perks you had before.
Yeah.
So if you really want to retain that business and from generation to generation, that second generation or third generation person might have to say, you know what? I don't need to make that much money. I can get by on less. I don't need a Range Rover. I can certainly get away with a Hyundai SUV,
Yeah.
right? And be able to live and be happy and afford to pay mom and dad out of cash flow instead
Right.
of passing the business on. You have to be open-minded to that because it's a lot easier to do it that way than to start a business all over from scratch.
Oh, yeah, totally. If it can just, I mean, you're already in momentum, right? Now you're just handing it off and you just grab that baton and keep on running.
I
And
had one
obviously,
I had
I'll go on.
one sale about a year and a half ago where dad was fortunate enough, he sold off part of the business. Mom and dad sold off a part of it, and they left a piece of the business for the kids to run. And now a year and a half later, they're doing much better than they were doing with that smaller piece of it because they're only focused on
Yeah.
that now instead
Yeah.
of all of these different pieces of it. They're only focused on this little one, and they've doubled the size of the business. And dad's now going,
Oh, great.
you know what? You can have it.
Yeah.
And it worked
Love
out
that.
nicely for them. So there's
Yeah.
different ways of looking at how to pass it on from one
Yeah.
generation to the next. Always talk to your tax advisor, though. I'm going to put that in there. Don't Neil and Orrin are not tax advisors. We're not
No,
CPAs and we're not
we're just
lawyers.
having a conversation
We're
here.
having a conversation, but we've lived long enough in this
Yeah,
industry to
definitely.
be able to say, talk, you know, send your kids out to work someplace else,
Yeah.
bring in what they've learned,
Yeah.
train them properly, give them responsibilities over time, create the roadmap of what it will look like
Yeah.
eventually, and make sure you give
Yeah.
them time and authority to make decisions so that they fail. And better to fail while you're still sitting in the
Yeah.
chair and
Right.
learn from that, but
Yeah.
let them do it
Yep.
and be there to help
Love.
them up.
Yeah. No, I love that. Like I said earlier, just traveling around this industry for so long, and now so many examples are coming that I'm thinking as you're talking. And one of them just recently, guy built a business many years and is trying to pass it on to his grandkids. And out of the blue, after something like 40 years of marriage, the wife wants a divorce. So now she wants a payout on top of trying to transition the business over to the grandkids. And it's become way more difficult, obviously.
I don't know of a scenario how you can make that work, truthfully.
I know that's a tough one. Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
very tough scenario to
yeah,
fix, and
yep,
that's a shame.
yep.
That's really
That's
a
what
shame.
happens, right? This is the type of spanners, or what do we call it? Wrenches that get
Well,
thrown into
yeah,
things.
and the best laid plans don't always work. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
somebody has a heart attack, somebody has
yeah,
um, cancer. I hate to even use the words, right? I hate to
yeah,
even bring that up. It happens. That's real life.
yep.
And look at look at look at Mark Stein.
Hmm.
His dad died very young, and
Right.
Mark was thrown into a leadership position. He had training, but he didn't have the
Hmm.
all the training.
Yeah.
And mom said, Dan or Mark, you got to come in. You're the person. You got to keep it going. And he did. And
Mm.
eventually Dan came in also. But we never know what tomorrow brings and what you're going to
But
need to do. So start planning early, put it into
yeah,
place, train. Don't because their last name is Swindale doesn't mean they get the business titles. Let them earn it.
right. Yeah,
Let them get there and let them earn the respect of everybody.
yeah, yeah. Now that you've actually said that, I've brought my kids into my business at some stages, and I remember I brought Zach in. He was a he worked for Southwest Airlines for many years, and he wanted to transition into an IT role with. So I said, Zach, come and work for me, and I'll call you Global Vice President of Technology,
Yeah.
just to help him get a title. So it was working in the. Now he's gone on to run Zippy for us, which has worked out great. But the titles can make a big
But he
is a
worked
big deal.
someplace else first, didn't he?
Yeah, he worked hard. Yeah.
And so
He
he learned
basically
that.
was basically whenever I boarded a plane at the Oakland airport to go somewhere, and I was able to fly for free, which was awesome because I can fly around the country and grow the Vent Central business. But every time I went to get on a plane, the ladies that were checking him in were going, "Are you Zach's dad?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they would say, "Zach knows, he's the only one that knows from A to Z how the computer check-in system works at the airport." So that was always good for me to hear that. But you're right. He went out and worked his butt off
Yeah.
and then came back into the family business. So
When I think
important.
when I think back when my kids were younger, both kids worked for me in the summertime. When they were out of school. My daughter actually worked
Yep.
when she was a senior in high school too, but they came in when my son, I'll never forget one summer he came into work and he was in the warehouse working and we would always have lunch together. That was a great thing about working when
Yeah.
my kids would be there because they would make sure I ate lunch and took the time to eat lunch and we ate
Yeah.
lunch
Right.
together. And he came in and I said to him all along, you don't work for me, you work for so and so. You don't
Yep.
work for me. He's your
Yep.
boss. So he came in
Yeah.
at, I'll never forget the one time he came in at lunch and we sat down in my office where we're having a bite to eat. And he goes, I got to tell you, there's so many, I don't like the way they're doing this. We should be doing this. Whoa, stop. And he said, what? I said, don't complain to me. If you have ideas
Yeah.
of how to do something better, go
Hmm.
talk to him.
Yeah.
He's open minded. He will listen to you. And if it's a great idea, he'll let you do it. And I think
Yep.
that's awesome that you're
That's it.
bringing new ideas in, but don't complain to me. You don't work for me.
Yeah.
He said, what? I said, nope, no what's. I might sign
Yeah.
the check, but you
Yeah.
don't work for me. You work for
Yeah.
him. Now go work with him if you have
Yeah.
better ideas. And he did have good
Yeah.
ideas. And guess what?
That's good.
They
Yeah.
put it into play. And he was only 17 years old, and it was great.
Wow.
But I think
That
back,
that's a great teaching moment to teach your kids how to respect the authority that's already being built within the company. Go up the chain correctly. Just because I'm dad doesn't mean
well, that's my point I'm trying to make here. Just because the last
love it.
name is Huebner doesn't mean they
Yeah,
automatically get a title. It means
right.
let them learn, let them earn it, because they'll have the respect from everybody in the building better
Yeah.
as they go through that compared to just
Hmm.
be handing something to them.
Yep. Love it. Hey, so we obviously have a change of administration recently, and I see in your notes that there's some big changes come through the big beautiful bill. So it's going to be important that if people are wanting to transition their business onto their kids, that they have a really good understanding, because what it looks like to me is it's pretty favorable.
It is. Well, that goes back to that 15 million. You can give away in your lifetime
Hmm.
$15 million each. So if
Right.
your husband and wife both own the business, you can give away to your kids up to $30 million
Right.
and
Okay.
they don't pay taxes on it. So if you
That's
want to
huge.
hand the business over to your children,
Yeah.
um, you might have a conversation and say, I need X amount of a consulting fee. Your business can have a consulting fee with mom or
Yeah.
dad, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
on
that's
an
a good idea.
ongoing basis. That's the right way to do it in many
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
Pay them as a consultant, not a 1099 employee. But you can actually give, let's say you have a business worth $20 million, you can hand that to the kids if you can afford to without
Yeah.
going through anything, without paying taxes on that business.
That's interesting.
You can also give. So here's the one that people get confused on. They say, well, no, you can only give $19,000 a year. That's the new amount in that big, beautiful bill we have now. It's 19,000. You don't have to report it.
Okay.
People are confused. If you give them $18,000, you don't have to report it to Uncle Sam. If you give them $19,000 and one penny, all you do is tell Uncle Sam you gave him $19,000 and one penny, and
Hmm.
that goes to your 15 million lifetime.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So you can give your kids $100,000. You can give your kids $50,000. If you
Mm,
go over 19,000, you have to report it.
got it.
So there's some
Okay.
confusion in the ranks over how all of that works.
Yep.
And I can give you the spelling of my name if you would like to give me more than $19,000. I'm still accepting
Yeah.
checks.
Me too. I'll take a couple of bucks.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. This is the great part about a family business. If you can build it for 20 to 30 to 40 years and then hand it over to your kids and then have somewhere to come and see them grow, God, it's just like the ultimate scenario.
Well, and the other thing is remember something as you're building an estate, stepped up basis. I'll throw one more factor out to everybody because it just happened with a relative of mine who passed away, and she
Yeah.
had
Oh, right.
property, and she had ownership of some property with other people, and we stepped up. We did a step up of what the property was worth. And what does that do? Well, you raise the value through the step up. That's less you have to pay in capital gains later on.
Right. Yep.
So there's something else. Again, talk to your tax advisor and make sure you're raising those basis points when time when you can do that.
Yeah.
So I just,
Yep.
you know,
So
you,
once again, it comes back to pre-planning and really keeping your finger on your pulse for everything, and then coming in and consulting with a guy like you to help them step through all this in
there's
advance.
a lot of things that go into this. This is sometimes trickier than just an out and out sale, but the
Yeah.
basics are no different. The
Yep.
day you start, it's for sale. You
Yep.
run your business like that throughout forever. And when you decide you want to transition, your kids want the business, then you put that into play too. And it comes
Yep.
back to communication, understanding,
Yep.
and trust.
Yep. I love it. Well, Orrin, as usual, great advice. If anyone wants to chat to Orrin, just come in through his website and have a chat. But gosh, if you're a family legacy business and you can somehow afford it to pass that business through to your children, that's amazing.
It's a feel good moment as the business succeeds even further than you, and you're
Yep.
leaving that legacy for your kids and your grandkids. I can't imagine there's a better feeling than that. I really can't.
Yep. Yep. And hey, I'm sure Patrick wouldn't mind from Sheehan Brothers if you want some advice on it too, to chat to him, because it looks like from a distance that they've done a fantastic job of that. And then lots of other companies, the Stein Brothers,
Yeah,
same thing.
definitely.
Tom Drill was started by their father who passed it on to them. And I sold a Zippy contract to someone about a month ago, and their parents passed it on to three sisters.
Yeah.
And the sisters are all in their early 30s, I believe. And now they've been all assigned roles, and now the three sisters are taking the business on.
I had
So
somebody
lots of examples.
a couple of years ago who was looking to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And his kids, he went to his kids and said, I'm looking to sell. And his kids said, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. We'd like to come into the business. They'd never been in the business before.
Oh, wow.
So they came in 2, 3 months ago. I called them just to get a pulse because I thought, well, maybe the kids, just because they want to. Oh, no.
Yeah.
They've tripled the size of the business. They're really doing well. He's thrilled with what the kids have brought in, and he's not interested in selling the business. I couldn't be
Oh,
happier
that's a
for
good
him.
one.
Truthfully,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
could
Yeah.
not be happier for him. That's the
Yep.
way you want things to go. And communication, talk everything through, make sure everybody wants to do it, understands what it takes, and signs in.
Yeah. Love it. Well,
Good
Orrin,
stuff.
yeah, really good stuff. I appreciate it. I'm sure people will love this one, but look forward to meeting up and doing the next show when I come back from my New Zealand trip.
Yeah, have a safe trip. I'm got a couple calls out. Maybe we're due for somebody who's sold and another conversation
Yeah.
like we did with Jeff in the next
Definitely.
1 or 2. Just stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah.
We're working on a couple
Yeah.
things.
Yep. Love it. All right, Orrin, appreciate it.
Take
Have
care.
a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Safe trip.